Hey everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. So, what's the one thing you shouldn't say to someone who's going through a narcissistically abusive relationship? Okay, so someone's telling you about their narcissistically abusive person, relationship situation. What's the thing you shouldn't say to them? Drop it in the comments. Let's see if any of you got it. The thing you should never say to them is, I never had a problem with them. So let's consider this to be an anti-enabler video. Have you ever had someone say that to you when you're telling them about a narcissistic situation? Like, well, I never had a problem with them. Let's face it, sometimes folks can be enablers. Maybe they don't even mean to be. It's just that society is so enably these days, and the world seems to be sort of a giant fan club for all of the narcissistic folks out there. So people kind of do it reflexively. But please, oh please, if someone's telling you their situation, don't say it. So let's break down the reasons why saying this sucks. Number one, when you say this, it invalidates the other person. They are telling you, somebody's sitting in front of you and telling you they are struggling with a difficult, toxic person. You not having an issue with the person isn't the issue. It's that the person you're talking with is having a problem with someone. By you saying, well, I never had a problem with them, you just invalidate someone who is in a toxic situation further. Number two, when you say that, it's you hijacking the conversation, a conversation that's not about you. It's about the experience someone else had with the person you both know. By saying, well, this is what happened to me, I never had a problem with them, you're just kind of being a conversational hijacker, and people don't like that. Remember, in this case, it's not about you. Number three, you may be trying to protect your self-interest while someone else is being vulnerable. Listen, you may not only ever had a problem with this person, but you may benefit from this sort of toxic person. I don't know, maybe it's someone you work with. Well, good for you. But this person who's talking to you isn't benefiting now. If the conversation is that uncomfortable for you, you don't want to hear someone speaking about this toxic person this way, find a graceful way to duck out. But ask yourself why you feel the need to cover the toxic person's ass and paint them out as, oh, I never had a problem with them. When a person tells you that they are struggling with someone's toxic or narcissistic behavior, the best thing you can do is to validate their experience, which means empathy, recognition, holding space, saying things like, I'm sorry, are you okay? It sounds like this has really been hard. How hard is that, right? Hell, you may not even initially agree with the person you're talking with, and their assessment of the situation, but you don't want to gaslight the person talking to you. For example, you may believe the person you're talking with is overreacting, okay, but simply be present with their experience. Don't say that. As they share with you, they may even ask you for your opinion. For example, listen, you know her, what's your take on the situation? And then, and only then, could you consider saying something like, hey, it sounds like what you experienced was painful. I'm so sorry. It's interesting because I've not had an issue with this person, but maybe I don't work with her, so I don't know her that well, or you've known her longer, or I don't know her the way you do. Whatever it is, you can respond in a way that allows a space for both people's experiences, yours and theirs. I don't think people know how invalidating it is when a person opens up their heart or vulnerability and they're shut down with statements like, well, I never had a problem with them, or I never had an issue, or they aren't that bad. The person who is bringing their experience to you is suffering or upset, and they had a real experience. Let them talk about it without being censored out the gate. I know you may want people in your life to get along, but sometimes it doesn't always work that way. Let the person who's talking with you have their moment without you taking it away by saying, well, I never had a problem with them. I know there are people in my life that other people may experience as toxic or difficult, and I may not have had that experience with that person they think is difficult. But when another person has, I have to recognize that they had a different experience and hear it and say, I'm so sorry. and just be there and hear about their experience without censoring them just because I didn't have the experience. Now, just a heads up to all of you who've had a toxic experience with someone and the person you're talking with hasn't had the same toxic experience, you also don't get to gaslight that person either. You can't say something like, well, there's no way you had a good experience with them because I didn't. That's not okay either. The reason the world is the gaslighted mess that it is because most people aren't able to hold on to their own reality even while someone else is having a different experience. If you can figure that out and master that, then you have learned the finest art of psychological diplomacy ever. And I promise you, it'll pay massive dividends in your life. But we all got to catch ourselves. And when we're like, well, I never had a problem with them, the other person doesn't want to hear that right then. Practice empathy wherever you can. Again, it is like the only investment in today's market that will continue to pay out. Thanks again.